All right. Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. This is Mike from the PONETIC team, and today I am joined by the inventor of the PONETIC Electric Generator, Nicholas Gilbert, along with another member of our team, Jeff Collins. And today, really all we wanted to do was go through a list of frequently asked questions that we've had, and we've had quite a few, right? So we might end up having to cut this video up into a little fact series or something like that. But we all figured that it would be good to get these answers out there for these questions that have been asked, and just get more general information out to you guys about this machine, about what it does, what it's capable of, who could use it, and what the long-term vision is for Ponetic. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this and start off our first question. All right. So what is Ponetic? Nicholas, take it away, sir.
Well, Mike, in a nutshell, what PONETIC is basically just a self-charging mechanical battery.
And can you go into a tiny bit of detail of the mechanisms of action, right? How would a consumer pull electricity from this, right?
Well, from a consumer standpoint, it's plug and play. They're going to plug a device into the front of the machine, turn it on, and they're going to have instant electricity for whatever needs they may need it for.
So do you have a patent, or is this open source information?
Yeah, we actually do have an intellectual property patent that we was able to obtain like in 2020. But as far as open source information, it's still pretty relatively available to the public to understand how this machine works.
All right. How does Ponetic work?
Well, Mike, PONETIC works by converting potential energy into kinetic energy, and then that kinetic energy is converted into a DC electric, which is then converted into AC electric. So, in a nutshell, again, converting potential energy, which is wound up in a real tight spring, is released through a gearbox, which turns a type of wind turbine, if you will, which creates electricity to be stored into a battery bank and then inverted through an inverter, and the outcome is AC electric.
And can you explain maybe a little bit of the differences that would be seen with the production model as opposed to our prototype model that we've been showing everybody on the videos?
Yeah, there's going to be some key differences. The prototype, of course, is just a working prototype. It works. It's not real efficient. The alpha model will have some key differences, such as the spring design is completely different. Inside the prototype is just basically a extension spring. The newer model have a actual flat coil spring customized to deal with the output and the load that we're trying to our outcome, trying to achieve our outcome. Basically, is what I'm saying. Will be a custom spring, and then also right now in the prototype model is chain and sprocket, which was just easily to obtain the parts and pieces. It'll actually be a you know I don't want to lost my train of thought here. It'll be a custom transmission, I guess, if you will, in place of that chain and sprocket system, and then pretty much everything else will be the same from there on out of the machine.
Yeah, and those changes will be necessary and will be much more efficient, correct?
Oh, it'll change the game completely. Yeah, like I say, that's a working prototype. Just for proof of concept. The engineers just got the main components that will be night and day in this machine.
So on to our next question, and this has to deal with the solar panel, right? So would it not be better to just charge the battery from the photovoltaic, the solar panel, and run the inverter rather than incurring losses from additional mechanical and DC to DC conversion? That's a bit of a technical question.
I mean, yeah, and yes, it would be better. it definitely would be better if we were only using the solar panel as its primary source of input. However, we've discovered that we can make more energy efficiently mechanically versus solar alone. So, if you were just, like I said, if you just had a solar system, of course, it would be, a lot easier and better just to use it in that aspect. But since we've got a mechanical source here, it's actually a whole lot easier, more efficient for us to use a tiny amount of solar energy to recalibrate that spring versus waiting on the solar diodes to charge the battery.
Yeah, and I know that this question was, we answered it in our first introductory video, but just to clarify again, the solar as it stands right now really is just an auxiliary power source that can also be used to recalibrate that spring, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And it was also kind of an expenditure on the patent,
Hmm.
just because, like you were saying, why not? We're out, it's outside. Why not go ahead and utilize the sun as it's out there? It just makes more sense to use the solar when it's outside versus not using the solar.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Right? Why not have the solar? I mean, especially if, if it's just something you can slap on it, right? That's extra power. So our next question, does Ponetic require fuel?
Yes, it does. Ponetic is a solar human powered hybrid. So the fuel that it requires would be, like I say, either solar or human power, by cranking the lever.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so as far as, traditional fossil fuels go, it doesn't require anything like that, or gas, any sort of natural gases.
No, it doesn't require any type of combustion fuel whatsoever.
All right, excellent. That means no exhaust, right? And that means that you can have this device in an emergency situation in an indoors area, unlike, you know, I myself, I live in eastern North Carolina and we're a heavy hurricane state. And whenever we have a storm that knocks the power out, if it's during the storm, then you got to run outside, grab that gas generator, find some place, if you haven't already done this, right? Find some place to put it where it's not taking a bunch of water and then continuously go out there to fill it up. And with this, you don't have to worry about that at all, right? You can keep it in your home and continue to charge it through one of the various methods, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, not only does it not put off any fumes or exhaust, but it also don't put off any heat. So that's another highlight that people are liking, is that there's no expenditure of heat coming in out of the unit that would heat up your confined space if you're in a storm shelter or something like that. So that was another plus that people were liking about it.
And besides the brief recalibration of the spring, it's pretty much silent too, right?
Well, in the prototype, the spring, when it recalibrates, it has a little noise to it. The engineers has got that side nailed down to where it's going to be virtually silent. So even when it calibrates, it wouldn't be no louder than, say, like your AC kicking on, like an air conditioner unit or something like that. It would actually be lots more quiet than that.
Yeah, so nowhere near a traditional fossil fuel gas or diesel generator or anything like that.
We're decibels below any type of combustion fuel generators.
Our next question, is this a perpetual motion machine?
We get that question a lot, and it's absolutely not a perpetual motion machine. Kinetic energy requires one of two inputs. It either requires the solar, for expenditure, or human power. So it's definitely not perpetual. Be nice if it was, but it's not.
All right, sorry to kill the dreams of all those who thought it was perpetual. All right, does Ponetic use energy storage systems? ESS stands for energy storage systems, and that's a kind of a blanket term for any sort of storage like batteries or fuel cells, any other kinds of fuel cells and stuff. There's quite a few energy storage systems out there. So does PONETIC use energy storage systems, and what kind does it use?
Yes, PONETIC does use ESS. It actually uses two types of ESS, one being a custom high deflection coil spring, which we talked about earlier,
Hmm.
and then the other ESS, of course, would be a battery bank, internal battery bank. So it does use two different types of ESSs.
Okay, and that that battery bank could really be obviously there will in the alpha model, the production model, there will be most likely a lithium ion battery. But this could also be integrated into existing energy storage systems like battery walls that people utilize for existing microgrid setups, right?
Oh yeah, so you could actually, there'll be an output side that you can hook it into your pre-existing battery bank that you already have. Yeah.
How is this useful for off-grid living?
Well, as an off-gridder myself, we found it very useful. But it's useful in all kinds of off-grid living conditions, because you can truly be off-grid with the Phonetic system. Off-grid means no outside source of electricity coming to your homestead or your grid. With Phonetic, the electricity is within the machine. So, I mean, it's the most useful off-grid living generator on the market currently, or soon to be on the market.
Yeah, and this question kind of feeds right into our next one as well. So, can it be used for camping, RVs, or outdoor recreation?
Well, absolutely. Since Ponetic doesn't require any combustible fuels, you can have electric in the world's most remote places. Think the possibilities. You can camp in places that normally you would probably have to have some type of energy to charge your phones, and especially for extended stays for outdoor recreation. Ponetic's got you covered for months and months.
All right. Yeah, and I mean, it really could be used anywhere, right? It could be used for anything and anything outdoors, anything outdoors.
Oh, any type of work, if you're on-site building, you don't have electricity to that site, Ponetic supplies that energy so that you can continue to build without, you'll still being off-grid. So any outdoor recreation building, just like I say, there's numerous of ways that Ponetic's going to really help any remote places that you could use or need electricity.
All right, our next one. How much power can it produce?
Well, and speaking to our engineers and stuff, Ponetic is 100% scalable. The sky's the limit on what it can produce, depending on how big of a unit and how much power that you want to achieve. We can build a unit for that size. So, scalability is our friend as far as how much power it can produce, from micro currents to, kilovolts or kilowatts.
And I'll kind of add a very quick follow-on question to this. So, in the future, do do you foresee Ponetic being like made to order, right, for specific loads and jobs?
Well, at the moment, we're focusing on three different models. We've got a backpack model for hobbyists to go out in the fields and recharge their drones or RC cars or whatever you might want, cell phones and stuff like that on the field. Then we got the mid-size, for maybe outdoor recreation, camping, RV, storm shelters, that thing. And then we've got the whole house unit, which we plan to be around 13 kilowatts or bigger. But you know what? I don't know why we couldn't do a specific load if the person wanted a custom machine to maybe do something bigger than the 13 kilowatt system. But we've also discovered that you can also stack these units. So if you had, two of the 13 kilowatt systems, you would have a whole lot more output versus two of the backpack models can actually merge together and have a more of an output. So it's pretty flexible on customized, needs or whatever.
Yeah, and that's a great point, so you could have, a couple of the mid-size models, you know, providing plenty of power for your house, maybe even close to enough power to an energy storage system to power your whole house during an emergency, or you could have one of the bigger models like you were talking about. One thing I've been thinking about recently that's been a really exciting thought is with the current energy climate, I guess you could say, right? There's a ton of different AI data center projects that are springing up around the country. And, it's kind of a fun thought to think about an AI data center with a couple of subfloors full of train car size PONETIC generators, right? Supplying a large part of the power.
Yeah, exactly, and that would also make it extremely portable. You could go from East Coast to West Coast, with something like that, and be able to power anything in between.
Yeah, yeah, that's so crazy. Hey, again, guys, really appreciate you watching the video. Again, thank you for all the love, all the support and engagement that we've had on social media. Again, this was the first video of the two-part series that we have for this. And as we get more questions, if they're pretty frequent, we'll put together some more videos to get those questions answered. But please don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends and family, and help us get this out there. Okay? Thanks, everybody.